Hey guys, how's it going? Looks like we got ourselves a Forbidden and Limited list. It is September 13th, 14th when I'm recording this at like midnight. But it came out on September 13th for us in North America. And this is somewhat oddly timed, so as many of you may have noticed, I haven't been posting the last couple of weeks. And a big reason for that is honestly, the format was really stale, and I wasn't really interested in Yu-Gi-Oh! Wasn't really interested in playing, and therefore I was not really interested in making videos, and so I just kind of wasn't doing that. Today, actually, so I had recorded the raw footage for a video on why I hadn't been posting, how stale the format was, and how they're ruining the 200th YACS, all of that. And of course, right before I go to edit it, all that stuff, ban list is posted. So great. Now all that was pointless. Got what I wanted, I guess, kind of. We'll talk about how this ban list is both a success in a few ways and also just a complete failure in a lot of others. It's an interesting ban list. It's one of the most peculiar ones we've gotten, I think, in the last several years. So I did make a reaction video starting like 2 minutes after it had been posted. I immediately made a video. I ended up scrapping it and then talking to some friends about it. And I think now I'm ready to kind of talk about it in a little bit more of a coherent way. I'm still going to go through the ban list, going from the top to the bottom. And I'm going to kind of talk about cards as they come up. But that's just going to be kind of the structure. So first, we're going to talk about Samsara Lotus briefly. Not a lot to say about it because it wasn't very relevant here. In fact, it wasn't. It is banned because of FTKs. You can loop it to burn your opponent. That's the reason it's on here. And that's that. No one's going to miss it. No one really realized it existed in the first place. Next, we get into Nightmare Goblin. So this is the very first Link monster ever banned, and it took the place of Firewall Dragon. I think in a lot of people's minds, Konami had two choices. They had Firewall Dragon and Nightmare Goblin. One of them had to go. If they went the Goblin route, probably that meant other things had to go along with it, but at least one of them had to go. And I was in the camp of people that was saying, well, I don't think they're going to ban Firewall Dragon because it's the protagonist's ace monster in the TV show. They're going to hit Nightmare Goblin. It's probably screwed. And lo and behold, indeed, Nightmare Goblin is the one that got banned. It was probably going to be banned eventually anyway. I think even if they banned Firewall Dragon now, I think Nightmare Goblin might have been banned at a later date, or at the very least limited. I'm not really sad to see it go. I think it's a really irritating card. I think giving a second normal summon and preventing everything in the kill link from being targeted is not very fair. So, good riddance. Talking about things that had to go along with Nightmare Goblin, MX Saber Invoker. To be honest, it probably should have been banned after Zoo format. I think that was proof that it was not really a healthy card. It's never been used for X Sabers. It only is a extender / starter for really degenerate combos and such. So in some ways, I'm a little sad to see it go. I think a lot of people kind of have these conflicted feelings about the card. I felt similarly about Daigusto Emerald and Lovable Chain. Cards we love. Unfortunately, they're just not really healthy for the game. Goodbye. So that's it for the banned cards. I don't think anything else needed to be banned. Obviously, Firewall Dragon would have been nice, but I don't think there was anything they were really missing, per se. Other things they could have potentially done, but I think it's fine. So we get into the limited cards, and this is when things start to go sideways. The first part of the ban list, you can be angry. Firewall Dragon should have been banned, but, we can accept why they didn't, and they kind of did the next best thing. They hit Goblin and Invoker. Right at the top here, we have this A Assault Core. I was really surprised when I saw this. I was really confused at first. Affecting the reaction video I ended up scrapping. At first, I was like, wait, that's the ABC card, right? You know, I was for a second I was like confused. Like, why would they hit ABCs? So, ABC cards are used in Cannon Soldier FTKs in the OCG. So, you know, you would think maybe you'd hit the Firewall Dragon. That makes it possible. Maybe you'd hit Cannon Soldier. That seems like a pretty good hit. But for some reason, Konami decides, no, we're going to limit a Assault Core, which is the other piece of the puzzle that's required for the FTKs. You had so many other choices, and you went for a Assault Core. I mean, sucks to be an ABC player. Like, just get fucked, idiot. If you're a ABC player out there, like, I just, why? This just seems like the dumbest possible way of going about this. I think, you know, a lot of them, I think I actually give Konami a lot more credit than other people do for being smart in the way they balance their game, given some of the objectives they have. You know, we do have to accept they are a business and they want to push certain decks. But this just makes no sense. Just none. Why? That's all I'm going to say on that. I could go on forever berating Konami for just how dumb this hit was. But there's the reason. It's a shitty one, but one nonetheless. Stratos coming back to 1. I almost didn't believe my eyes when I saw it. I didn't think the day would ever come. Quite frankly, I don't care too much. I'm not a huge hero fan. I do like Destiny heroes. I am a fan of Destiny hero cards. Not so much any of the other ones. I don't really care about any other hero card. Even the Destiny heroes, I'm sort of meh on. But yeah, Stratos is at 1. The meme's dead. Konami, the meme slayers. I think that, unfortunately, maybe it's a little too late. I don't think heroes are really going to run Stratos. I mean, maybe they'll run the 1, but I don't know, it's sort of a meh card now. I just don't really see how it fits into the deck. Yeah. So, Morphing Jar. That's just kind of my reaction is, I don't really see why. I respect them trying to bring cards back to limited out of the forbidden list, but Morphing Jar doesn't really go in anything. It just feels like a gimmick that's just going to be really irritating. You know, every set card I see from now on, I'm going to have to stop and go, is that Morphing Jar? And I think, unfortunately, that's going to be a very cheap way of playing around your opponent's stuff is, you know, late in a match, especially game 3 when people have sided and stuff, if late in game 3 they set a card, you have to seriously consider whether or not that's Morphing Jar now. And so I don't think this was a particularly good card to bring back, because I don't think it adds anything to any deck. I don't think it brings anything interesting to the game. All it adds is this additional random consideration of, is it that card? Am I going to have to be concerned about Morphing Jar? Am I about to attack into this? It's going to flip over and it's Morphing Jar. I don't like cards like that. That just completely changed the way the game is played for no real reason. I think most of the time people probably won't try to play around it because who's going to be running Morphing Jar? But I think that's going to reward players for running it in a way that's not particularly skillful. I don't know. Sure. Electromite to 1. I know a lot of people are very angry about Electromite going to 1. You know, why hit Pendulums again? You know, Pendulum Magicians are already dead, which is not true. I think Pendulum Magicians are still a decent deck. The real reason for hitting Electromite, I think, is that it puts a limit on the power of Pendulum cards that can be released. I just don't really see Konami being able to release very strong of Pendulum cards while Electromite is at 3. Because if you make something that's good, then Electromite's going to completely break it. And it's going to be some ridiculous deck that's completely uncontrollable. And having it at 1 gives Pendulums a link monster that they can use. But they can't, you know, as the meme goes, stick to the game plan and just make 3 of them and just go absolutely nuts. So, it's a good hit in my book. I know a lot of people don't like it. I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. I think Electromite probably should have gone to 1 in the first place. I think that should have been last list. Cypherframe Lord Omega seems awfully late. I it like there's no decks that spam it that are good right now. Maybe they're really afraid of all the new synchro cards being too good, but I don't think they are. It's just this is a bizarre hit. This isn't quite as bad as the hit on A Assault Core. Not nearly as bad. In fact, I don't think I've seen a hit that bad in a very long time. But man, this was just weird. Felt very uncalled for. Yeah, Cypherframe Lord Omega is a very strong card. But did you need to do that? I feel like you're just taking power away from Synchro decks when they're already somewhat struggling because there aren't very many archetypes that like to Synchro summon that are very relevant. And I think it also takes away some of the power from Synchro decks right before Needle Fiber comes out. Or, you know, we have no idea when it comes out, but anyway, before we get the chance to use it with Needle Fiber. Side note, Ulticonok is still at 1, and I'm very sad. Moving right along. Evilstorm Exciton Knight. Okay, so now we're getting into some of the cards that are coming back that were absurdly overpowered when they were legal. If anyone remembers Evilstorm Exciton Knight, this card was ridiculous. Being able to just blow up your opponent's just everything if they have more cards was very scary. Now, I do think that we have cards like evenly matched. I think Exciton Knight is not nearly as horrible. I think it's definitely been power crept a fair bit. We're not really going to be seeing ridiculous Exciton Knight swinging games completely. No completely crazy shit like when it was originally released. It is still a very strong card though, and it's something you have to think about now. It's just going to be another thing that you have to consider when you're making your board is, can I stop Evilstorm Exciton Knight if it comes out? Can I stop Evenly Matched? Can I stop Exciton Knight? Can I stop what have you? So, I mean, there it is. We'll see how good it is. I think it will probably see a decent amount of play. I think part of the reason Konami wanted to bring it back was because a lot of rank 4s haven't really been seeing play. I think a lot of them have kind of been power crept, like Castell's garbage. Like committing 2 monsters to return a thing to deck isn't that great, especially when it doesn't have very many attack points. It doesn't give you link arrows like other forms of removal and link monsters. I mean, you can use 3, any 3. They don't have to be level 4 to make Unicorn, and it gives you a down pointing arrow. So, yeah, I think it just gives us a rank 4 that's actually worth making. A Hero Lives limited. So there is sort of 2 competing things going on this list. On one hand, they want to push heroes. This is clear from the fact that Stratos went to 1 and the fact that Super Poly went to 1, which we'll get to in a minute. But then a Hero Lives to 1. So the reason for this is because a Hero Lives summons Vision Hero Vion, and Vion dumps Destiny Hero Malicious. Malicious effect, you now have 2 warriors on field. That is a 1-card Isolde, which is therefore a 1-card Extra Link, which is absurd that you have a 3 of spell card that creates an Extra Link. I will say, however, it just doesn't really follow with some of their other moves on the ban list. Maybe bringing back some of the hero cards was meant to help counterbalance the fact that they were limiting a Hero Lives. I do think from that standpoint, you can kind of see how that might be okay, kind of fair. Like, yeah, we have to hit a Hero Lives because we have things like Hero Goki. So here's some dedicated hero stuff back. From that, I kind of get that. I'll talk about it in a minute. I have a lot of issues with Super Poly. Card Destruction. Woo! What a ridiculous card. I didn't think I'd ever see this card again. This is one of those forbidden cards that you kind of think are never going to come back after it was so ridiculous in some old formats. It was very good in Dragon Rulers. I don't know exactly what it's going to be played in. Dangers, I think, are the obvious reason it came back. I think that's the reason everyone was talking about it potentially coming back. My thing about it is does it fit in Danger Burning Abyss? That is clearly the best medium for dangers to exist, is within Burning Abyss. Is it worth cutting Sekka's Light for the power spells? Do we have enough power spells, like Card Destruction, to warrant playing them over Sekka's Light? I'm not sure that we do. I'm also not willing to say that we don't. Card Destruction is a ridiculously strong card. When you have other cards like Monster Reborn, and, heck, we can throw in some Allure of Darknesses to try to get through our stuff, get rid of excess cards that we don't need, dig through the deck, kind of what Sekka's Light does, only, obviously Sekka's Light is a plus. I don't like Card Destruction coming back. I'm interested to try it. I think it's going to end up being a lot like Snatch Steal, where it's like, wow, cool, what a fun card, and then, after a couple weeks, you're just going to be like, whoa, this is way too strong. And it's going to end up being super sacky, super unfair. I bet we're going to see this forbidden again before long. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's kind of the way I feel about it. Hornet Drones to 1, mimicking the OCG. Thank God. This was one of the things I think was absolutely mandatory on this ban list that they absolutely had to do, was put Hornet Drones to 1. Now we get to Super Polymerization. Back at 1. Why? I absolutely despise this card. If anyone remembers playing with this card in the format, it was ridiculous in shit-alls. It was banned for a reason. You can't respond to it. It gets rid of your monster to make a fusion. When you're playing like Burning Abyss or Satellar Knights, and the Shadal player would just super poly your light boss monster away to make Construct, that was the absolute worst. I don't support this card coming back at all. It's ridiculously strong. Maybe it's to push heroes, I guess. It's also decent for Cyber Dragons, maybe, in some matchups. I don't know. That is a spicy card. That's all I'll say on that. Cosmo Dark Destroyer to 2. So this is where personal grudges start to come in again. I absolutely hate Cosmo. One of my least favorite matchups of all time, despite the fact that I've only lost to it a handful of times throughout the few years it's been released now. I don't think I've ever lost to it in a regional or YCS. I've only lost to it a couple times at locals, and yet I still despise every single time I play against this deck. Cosmo Dark Destroyer is one of the single most infuriating cards ever printed. That being said, Cosmo is really, really bad right now, and they need some help pretty desperately, and yeah, I think they can have Dark Destroyer back to 2. I don't think it's going to end up resulting in anything. If Cosmo does become somewhat relevant again off of this, I'm going to be very upset about it, but I'll get over it. So congratulations to all Cosmo players. Called by the Grave to 2. A lot of people, I think, are going to be very upset by this one and just kind of ask why. I think one of the lines that I'm hearing a lot is, they put Called by the Grave to 2, but we still have all the hand traps. I don't really get that. Like, I feel like Called by the Grave is just a generic card for combo decks. It's good for combo decks. It has some versatility. It can get rid of hand traps if you're going first. If they have no hand traps, you can set it, and it disrupts your opponent's combo. It's just kind of it can be a bit of a dumb card. I think making it so that combo decks like Goki see it less is, that's a way of hitting them, I suppose. Limiter removal to I wasn't doing anything at 1. Haha, jokes about it unlimiting itself. Okay. I don't think it's going to change much. Maybe it's worth running in Cyber Dragons now just because you're going to see it more often. You can actually incorporate it into combos, maybe? Who knows? Scapegoat to 2. This is sort of a weird hit where I feel like it doesn't do that much. Like, if you would put it to 1, I don't think it justifies the 4 extra deck spots anymore. And you're going to never see it. At 3, it's very consistent. You see it all the time. Definitely worth it. At 2, I think a lot of decks still want to run it. I think it's still worth the 4 extra deck spots. And yeah, you're going to see it a fair bit less, but you're still going to see it. Maybe not quite every match, but depending on the deck, some grindier decks that have longer duels are still going to see it at least once a match. And it's still a ridiculous card that just gives you 4 link materials. So that was probably a bit of a blunder. Probably should have just been limited. Oh well. Terraforming, semi-limited. Sure. I feel like they either should have just kept it at 3 or limited it. Like, I think it's not good enough to be banned. On the other hand, Terraforming, I think there's a lot of cards that should really never be semi-limited because either it's healthy enough to be in the game, or if you just limit it, it's just going to be super sacky and unfun to play against. Terraforming is a consistency card, and therefore you can lightly hit consistency by semi-limiting it, so you can only run 2 instead of 3. You have 5 copies of Field Spell instead of 6. I still don't have a super concrete opinion on this, on whether it's good or bad. I think that's partially just because it is just sort of a meh change. Whatever. I don't think there is necessarily a strong way to feel about it. Moving on to unlimits. Towers, sure. I mean, once it went to semi-limited, that's all. You would never play more than 2. A lot of people didn't play more than 1. So there's that. Disc Commander, got errata, it's not good anymore. Burial from a Different Dimension, wasn't being played, semi-limited, probably won't be played now, except by some maybe weird deck in the future that really wants to do that. Like, I don't think Infernoids are playing it at 3, so I can't imagine what else would. And finally, Ring of Destruction, was not being played at all. It targets... There we go, it's at 3. Congratulations to Ring of Destruction, finally made its way all the way back up. So there's the list. Notable things that were not on here besides Firewall Dragon: Trickstar Reincarnation, Trickstar Lycoris, Trickstar Light Stage. We've hit at least one of those. Trickstars are totally untouched still. Yeah, Scapegoat went to 2. Hornet Drones went to 1. Sky Strikers can't really be played in the deck anymore. But they've just gotten away scot-free for so long. It's ridiculous. I really wish I'd invested in Trickstars a long time ago. The first format, they were kind of meta back when Spiral was around. I wanted to build Trickstars, and then I avoided it because I was really afraid of Reincarnation being limited, and I was like, it probably won't be that great anymore. Man, to those of you who did invest in it, best investment of your life, other than, maybe if you invested in BA or Mermail, because that deck is still untouched directly on the Forbidden and Limited list, which is just so absurd. Goki, I don't think is dead. Instead, we're going to be looking mostly at Trigate Negate boards, I believe. That's my impression from talking to people. That's kind of how I imagine the deck working. Nightmare Goblin being gone, their boards are now targetable, so I think it is just generally going to be better to go for that Trigate. Pure Sky Strikers, pretty much the same. Maybe a slight consistency hit with Hornet Drones at 1. Not really. Everything else feels pretty unchanged, which I think is one of the most disappointing things about this list, is that you look at all of these changes, and I'm not sure anything really changed that much. Goki's a little weaker. I think Vendreads might actually be a lot more meta relevant. Part of the problem with Vendreads is that they were just kind of like a worse Extra Link deck than Goki, but now that Goki's Extra Link has been weakened quite a bit, Vendreads don't use Nightmare Goblin. Excuse me. I think now that they don't have a direct Extra Link competitor, Vendreads are a little more viable. So there is that. Otherwise, I guess Carry On mostly is normal. Maybe Danger BA got a little bit better. Drop Sekka's Light. Cool. So I am definitely disappointed by this list a little bit. How do you feel about it? I'll probably try to return to making videos. We'll see how I feel about Yu-Gi-Oh! There are videos I was planning on making, and then I just sort of got bored and didn't make. So that's just honestly why I haven't been posting, is I've just been bored of Yu-Gi-Oh! Hopefully I'll see you guys in another video very soon, next couple days, and have a good one.